Hello chess enthusiasts, my name is Miha and welcome to my chessrealm YouTube channel. Today I'm going to show you a game between Aryan Tari and Alireza Firouzja. It was played recently on Altibox Noway Chess tournament, which was finally non-online chess event played at the real boards since the corona lockdown. Anyway, in the game Aryan Tari had white pieces and he started with e4, c6, d4, d5, e takes on d5, c takes on d5 and bishop to d3. And we have Caro-Kann defense and bishop to d3 is the main line of the exchange variation. Black continues with knight to f6, c3 and bishop to g4, attacking the queen. Now there are two main replies. White can protect the queen with knight to e2 or f3, but white decides to play queen to b3, attacking the pawn on b7, so black defends the pawn with queen to c7, h3, bishop goes back to d7, knight to f3, and black continues with the development, knight to c6, white castles kingside, e6, rook to e1, bishop to e6 and bishop to g5, attacking the knight who is protected. So if white captures, black gets doubled pawns, but black doesn't care and castles kingside. Now even if white takes the knight and crumbles black's pawn structure, this is not exactly a setback, because white is currently not in position to deploy his pieces in order to endanger the black king. So black could only benefit from the open g-file, and therefore white plays knight from b to d2, knight to h5, queen to d1 and f6, attacking the bishop. So white removes the bishop to e3 and now knight to f4, attacking the unprotected bishop on d3. So white removes the bishop to f1 and now g5. Black's pieces are eyeing down to the white king, but currently there is no immediate threat, so maybe g5 was premature, or I should say it was unnecessary weakening of black's pawn structure. White strikes the center with c4. Now black shouldn't capture on c4 because he loses control over e4 square. Moreover, white can recapture on c4 with bishop, further putting pressure on the black king. So black removes the king out of the diagonal, king goes to h8, rook to c1, rook to g8, x-raying the white king. Black is redeploying pieces in order to start an attack, but white could have simply acted on the queen side with a3 and later b pawn push. This should be enough counterplay before black could start any serious attack. But in this position, white makes inaccuracy. Maybe he was afraid of knight sack somewhere in the king's vicinity. So white plays bishop to f4 and black recaptures with bishop. Now this bishop is going to be very dangerous on the dark squares, and white just traded his dark squared bishop, so he won't be able to neutralize. So white continues with b4. You might think that pawn on b4 is for free, but if black captures with knight on b4, then c takes on d5, discover attack on the queen, further putting pressure on the e6 pawn, and with an open center and weakened pawn structure around the king, this is not a favorable position for black. So black plays queen to d6 and now b5, attacking the knight. Black removes the knight to e7 and now c5. Well, it would be better if white would keep the pawn on c4, keeping the tension in the center, because black would never know when white would open the game. But now by blocking the center, black has a free way to organize an attack. So black removes the queen to c7 and now g3, attacking the bishop on f4. Bishop is strapped and cannot go anywhere, but this move was actually a fatal weakening of white's kingside pawn structure. In this position, black could have simply taken the pawn on g3, and if white recaptures, then g4, attacking the knight. If white removes the knight, for example, to h2, then queen to g3, king to h1, g takes on h3, and white is facing serious mating threats, so it's either mate or material loss. And if here white takes the pawn on g4, then queen to g3, king to h1, and queen to g4, lines are open again, and with a piece up, white king is defenseless, and this is probably winning position for black. In the game, black saw the things a little differently and played g4 right away, h takes on g4, rook takes on g4. White cannot capture the bishop because g-pawn is pinned, so white plays bishop to h3, rook to g7, king to h1, removing the king from the g-file, and now e5, opening diagonal for black's light square bishop. Bishop captures on d7, queen recaptures, knight to h2, preventing immediate check from the queen, and now black plays queen to h3. And from now on, white king is going to be stuck in the corner with a pinned knight. So white tries to reinforce his king with rook to g1 and rook from 8 to g8. Black doubles the rooks along the g-file, and now it's only a matter of time when white will break under the pressure. Queen goes to e2, e4, rook to c3, knight to f5. And here white decides to sacrifice the knight, hoping it might release the pressure. So knight takes the pawn on e4, d takes on e4, queen to e4, double attack on the bishop and the knight. So black has to return some material and decides to play bishop to g3, threatening mate on h2. And if white takes on g3, then knight to g3, forking king and the queen. And after rook to g3, rook to g3, rook to g3, and queen to g3 with an exchange up, this is winning for black. So in the game, white played rook to g2, rook to e7, queen to c1, and rook from g to e8, threatening rook to e1 with mate in a couple of moves. And even if white plays rook to c1, then bishop to h2, rook to h2, queen to f3, rook to g2, and rook to g8, rook on g2 is pinned. And now even if rook to g1, then rook to g4, mate is unavoidable. And realizing this, in this position, Aryan Tari resigned the game. I hope you like this game and that you have learned something from it. If you have any questions, my email is below in the description. Of course, I invite you to visit my Instagram page. That's it for now, and see you soon.